Welcome, everyone. Those who are tuning in, welcome to Manny's Super Civic Cyber Conversations. My name is Manny Yakutiel, and I'm the owner of Manny's, and that's enough of the use of the word Manny for the rest of your life, probably. Manny's is a small business that's a physical place in the Mission, but we have had to shut down because of shelter in place, but the work continues. And so we are continuing our civic programming. We're doing it digitally, online, on the interwebs. That's what we're doing. And thank you for tuning in today. You can tag us at Welcome to Manny's for your social media posts. And you can also, which would be very, very kind of you, become a sponsor of Manny's for $36 a month. In the Q&A section, in the answer box, once the operator puts it in, there will be a link, a join it link, to make a donation to Manny's and allow us to keep doing these kinds of conversations and these dialogues for you, for the public, for free. So up there she is. Go ahead and type, if you go to the answer section in the Q&A, you will see it. Okay, today we are very, very lucky and honored to have Carolyn Wysinger.
Close, Wysinger.
Who is the president of the board of Pride 2020 and also a friend of Manny's and a friend of mine, to talk about what is happening and what has happened with Pride 2020.
Thank you for having me, Manny. I know it's an emotional day. I've had my own emotions now, and I'm just looking to you not to cry so then I don't cry.
I'm gonna try to not do that.
And I don't want you to think I'm feel your feelings, Manny.
Thank you. This is my show. You have your show. This is my show. On my show, I get to cry whenever I want. So first of all, the statement has been sent out to the press and to the public, but I wanted to give you an opportunity on the front end to just go ahead and, as the president of the Board of Pride, explain what was in the statement for those who haven't read it and what is going to happen with Pride this year.
So, okay, once again, first, thank you for having me on the show, Manny. I am definitely a friend of Manny, and I actually met Manny last year when I was being interviewed by someone else, and he walked up to me and said, "You want some chips?" And I said, "Oh, you're Manny from Manny." So thank you. Yes, today we did go ahead and put out a press release that we did go ahead and cancel this year's Pride celebration. It is one of the saddest, hardest decisions that I have made in my adult life. But we think it is the best thing to do for the city of San Francisco, for the LGBTQ community. You know, one thing we definitely didn't want to do. I was definitely, I'll be honest, I really, really wanted to postpone. I had this grand idea of us, welcoming folks back to the city once we were post-COVID, but we don't know when that's going to really be. One thing we hear Mayor Breed and Gavin and Governor Newsom talk about every day is that we're in this challenging time and we don't know when we're going to be past it. So yeah, there were a lot of things that went into this decision, but ultimately holding the community health at heart was the best thing to do.
Just for the folks who've tuned in, I'm going to be asking two things now for you to type into the Q&A box. Both ideas that you have for ways that we can continue to celebrate Pride in some manner that's not a giant gathering. And also, what does Pride mean to you? I kind of want to hear from the folks who are tuned in here. There's about 50 of you. If you don't mind writing in the Q&A box, what does Pride mean to you? And also, what are some ideas that you have for Carolyn in ways that we can continue to be proud and celebrate Pride in a way that doesn't, put us in danger? So first, I'm going to ask you that question. What does Pride mean to you? Obviously it's an event, but what has it meant to you over the years? And what does it mean to you now?
Pride for me is a very interesting thing. As someone who grew up here in the Bay Area, which I know it's very rare you hear that these days, someone who grew up in the Bay Area, and I grew up as someone who didn't get to go to Pride. I always tell people Pride is on Sunday, and I grew up in the church, and regardless of Pride or not, you got to go to church on Sunday. So, to make that turn in life, to come out and be open about who I am, and to be president of this grand organization that's been around about 10 years longer than I've been alive is an amazing thing. And I think that even, as members of the board, we do so much hard work. We're not always agreeing for all year. We're making these hard decisions. And then when we get to go out into the actual festival and we get to see all the people dancing, all the people in their rainbow tutus and rainbow, bow ties, all the different types of people, all the different stages, it's just amazing to see so many people that are so different, but who hold the same ideal at heart, who get to dance together for 2 days. So it's an amazing thing for me. I think, I have an aunt, one of my aunts who worked in San Francisco for so many years, and she would always talk about this thing called Pride that was on Sunday right outside of her building. So I got to bring them with me to our press conference with Mayor Breed, and it was amazing, full circle moment for her as well. So,
when did you come out, Carolyn?
When did I come out? I came out with the exact year. I came out in 2006, I believe it was 2005, 2006. It feels like a million years ago.
Another life. I remember my first Pride in San Francisco was in 2010. I actually had to work Pride. I was still in the closet with my family. My family didn't know I was gay.
Oh, wow.
And so I had to work Pride. I was raising money for Equality California, but I wouldn't let anyone take any pictures of me because I didn't want any pictures of me online at Pride because I was scared of it getting back to my family. But I was so happy to be there and so proud to be there. And, I think what we sometimes forget, people who are already out of the closet, is that Pride is sometimes like the first place where a young or not young person who is in the closet or coming out of the closet or thinking about coming out of the closet can go to begin the process of finding community.
It's the first place they can go to be themselves. Like up until last year, I was a teacher at Richmond High School. And I remember, first of all, there was a day where my entire leadership class came out to each other. So that's like 25 kids like, hey, I'm gay too. I'm gay too. So that was interesting. But some of them talked about when I first joined the board, how they wanted to come and volunteer. And that was the only way they could, was if they told their parents that they were just going to volunteer. They couldn't tell them they were going because they were actually out. So many people have so many different stories about what brings them to Pride. I'm kind of like you. Even though I was out the first time I actually came to San Francisco Pride, I was working for an organization called the Nia Collective, which helped me in my journey as far as coming out as a Black lesbian woman. So many of these organizations, not even just Pride itself, but so many organizations are able to find themselves there and bring people there and really start some folks on their journey.
So I want to get into the decision of how the decision was made, and then I want to talk about the ramifications of the decision. So so you're on the board, there's also an executive director. Was there a lot of pressure to keep Pride? Do you feel like the decision came smoothly and easily? When was the decision made?
So we as a organization, not even before shelter in place, as soon as this thing called COVID-19 came on the scene and people were saying, hey, stay out of public, 6 feet away, all those kind of things, we started having this conversation. Because Pride brings in about 1 million people into San Francisco. And we know more now than we did then. We started having this conversation about how would we go forward. And then it started to become, well, what if we were able to postpone it? What is it that Pride means to people? How would people feel? We did project all the feelings that we're feeling here on social media. And how will people feel when they can't come to San Francisco for Pride in June? Because June is still June. So then it became, what if we postpone? What if we made Pride smaller? What if we had less stages? And then the question became, well, we can say that we're smaller all that we want, but you can still end up with 50,000 people descending on Civic Center. So we had to, like I said, I was a big proponent of trying to postpone it. I really, really wanted to see us rise at a specific time. And while I know that we will rise, right now we don't know when that time is going to be. And I think that's what ultimately became the final decision, is saying we still don't have any timeline of when that's going to be. Our shelter in place keeps getting extended. So
that's why the decision was made to cancel the physical event instead of saying we're going to do it in the fall or the winter.
Right. Yeah. You always have those considerations of, can we put it on? One thing that some people don't know is that Pride kind of builds the plane while flying it, as they say every year. So that means that while we're planning it, we're actively getting our sponsors to fund the celebration. But unfortunately, a lot of our sponsors are also being hit hard. A lot of our sponsors are in the travel industry. A lot of our sponsors are, the hotels in the city. So, even if we made it smaller, would we be able to still put it on?
Mm-hmm.
And the answers just didn't start looking as positive as we thought they would.
So let's get to some of the ramifications, because I think a lot of us we're like waiting for that announcement, to be honest. After Burning Man was canceled and Coachella was canceled, and, we don't know about Outside Lands, but it's kind of up in the air. I think a lot of us were preparing ourselves emotionally, but I still have to say, like, reading the press release and I was in Dolores Park today, and it was so beautiful. And my favorite part of Pride is the Saturday in Dolores Park, because it's just so beautiful seeing all the people together and celebrating the nature of San Francisco as a community. So it just really hit me reading your statement. What are the ramifications of this, both financially for Pride and the city? And then I want to ask you about kind of for the queer community, what do you think this means to have Pride canceled, especially on our 50th year?
I think some of the ramifications financially are, as we said, making sure that we are able to sustain the organization. This will definitely be a time for us to continue to engage our sponsors, some of them that have been longtime sponsors and want to make sure that Pride thrives going into 2021. Definitely engaging with community. One thing that's interesting that was kind of alluded to in the press release, but not really, is that even in June, we still may be at a time where some people may have smaller things. So we definitely want to support as many of them as we can, and as many of those that can also support Pride is definitely welcome. I think that, there were a group of event promoters that were talking about the ramifications for their industry. And so we know that there's always so many events that are put on around Pride. Most of the events that people think Pride puts on, we do not. So I think that it's going to hit a lot of folks who are not necessarily able to have those events. And we want to make sure that we can support folks as much as we can. And like I said, even though we're having virtual events and virtual experiences, there's still going to be opportunities for us to work and partner together with all of these organizations and for them to get involved with supporting what we're doing. I think some of the ramifications on a city level, the city's already seen.
It was like $357 million a year, I read, is what Pride brings to the city in income.
Yeah, Pride brings, between the hotels, between all the travel, between just all the people that are, going to restaurants, we bring a lot of money into the city. So the city is already seeing a lot of hardship financially. I think it's going to hit the city itself as well as the industries that surround it. I think that there are a lot of organizations. Like I said, when I first came to San Francisco Pride, I was working for the NIA Collective, and what we would do every year is we would come out and work the beverage booth, and that was basically how we funded our yearly gathering.
My soccer team did the same thing, the Spikes.
Right. So unfortunately, a lot of organizations that look through that funding, we give out about $200,000 in grants every year. Wow. So a lot of are not going to see that. You're going to start to seeing that, unfortunately, in the way that they're operated. So there's a lot of trickle down, I think. And then in just the community itself, the idea of not having Pride is, for me as an African American, is the idea of saying, Black History Month is canceled. Like, it's just something that we do every year to commemorate who we are. And in the case of Pride, we've never really had to do it where we couldn't get together. We've never had to depend on media talking about our history. We've never had to do that. That's something we do at Black History Month all the time. Black History Month is kind of, we have shows, we have shows, we put things on social media, we put things on television to say, hey, it's Black History Month, this is the history. We don't really do that as much at Pride. So some of those things that may be looked at negative, things that we haven't had to do, are things that actually would be positive. A lot of people come to Pride and don't know a thing about Pride. And this is an opportunity for us to tell that story, because visually is all we have. Mm-hmm.
So folks who are tuned in, if you have questions for Carolyn about canceling Pride, or if ideas of ways in which we can make Pride, still happen in some way this year, now's the time to put it into the Q&A box in your screen. I just have a couple more questions for Carolyn, and then I'm gonna get to your questions. Virtual pride, virtual pride. What the hell does that mean, virtual pride? And
Well,
also, what the hell does that mean? But also, I have to say, Passover was just happened, and it was so. I was really bummed about it. But actually, some of the like virtual setters that people did, like all these Broadway singers did like a virtual setter, and I was like crying in the street. Cynthia Erivo did like When You Believe, and I was on the corner and I was crying. And so actually, like we've just finished Passover, and the Jews were really nervous about it, and I feel like it wasn't the same as normal. But like I don't know, I actually kind of gained a lot from it this year. So virtual.
virtual pride is, to me, is going to probably be the most interesting and probably the most important thing that comes out of this. And I will say, because we would have never had to think about these things if not for being forced into the situation. I'm a big hip hop fan, and DJ B Nice had 280,000 people at one point on his virtual, and that's just him standing at his house and spinning records,
Drinking,
drinking, changing hats.
drinking some rum or something.
The people had to go in the chat and tell him to go to the bathroom and drink water. And every celebrity you can think of, including Michelle Obama, the only celebrity who didn't show up was Beyonce, but her mama was there. So I say all that to say there's so many ways that we can engage with each other, that we've seen people start to engage because we've had to. Like my family did virtual Sunday brunch. And like I told you, we are all about church. We love church. We sat there on Zoom. We had chicken and waffles. My mom prayed. My grandmother yelled at us because that's what she does. And it forces us to start thinking about different ways that we can engage with each other. So I don't have all the answers of what virtual pride is going to look like just yet, but I can tell you that it's going to be all about creating virtual experiences. And like I said, a lot of the things that the traditional things that we can still keep, things like we're working on trying to see if we can still get the pink triangle up. We're definitely, like I told the examiner today, we're going to get them pride flags up, even if I got to go up there and put them up there. The Grand Marshals will still get highlighted. We have our partnership still with KPIX, who normally broadcast the parade. So they're going to be helping us do digital things. A lot of our sponsors who were already in the digital space have already stepped up and started talking about ways that they can support. And then there's some other sponsors, unlikely sponsors that I would never have thought of, who came in to be new partners. So it's going to be an amazing experience that I think is going to transform Pride going from here on, where we can, touch even more than the 1 million people that normally come to San Francisco.
I have two last questions for you. One is, what do you think the people who marched in the very first Pride, if they were in your seat right now, the people who did that first kind of protest march, if they were sitting in your chair, what do you think they would do in this moment? How do you think they would honor this year's Pride and make it happen?
Those people that marched in the first Pride were fucking badasses, and I think that they would have had the same inclination at first. We're not gonna stop. This is Pride. We're not gonna stop. We're not gonna do this. But they were also very, very committed to the safety, to the health, to marching for health, to marching for not just visibility, but marching to make sure that LGBTQ people were protected. So I think, and I always think of the folks who came before me. I hope that they would be okay with our decision, because ultimately we are still working towards the same goal. We're working towards not just visibility, but we're working towards sustainability for our community.
And this my last question for you is, that young person who was going to go to Pride to take their first step, the version of you and me, that person who quietly, maybe even in a terrified way, went to Civic Center on that Pride Sunday. How are we gonna make sure that they can still take that first step this year?
I think one of the first things is continued support of our smaller prides, a lot of them which happen later on in the year. I really, really pray that they don't see us the similar fate, and they probably won't, because there won't be as many. There's not that thought of the 50,000 to 1 million people spreading, COVID-19. On a side note, I'm so used to calling it the Rona on Facebook and Instagram.
Roma.
But I think definitely supporting our smaller prides, but also for us with the virtual experiences, that means that we have to increase how we are actually sending that out into the world. We can't just put it on our social and on our San Francisco Pride page and just leave it there. We have to really actively work with these organizations, work with youth groups, work with community groups to make sure that they know that this is happening. Because honestly, and like I told you, I used to be a teacher. Kids are on their phone all day anyway. If we make sure it comes across their Instagram, across their YouTube, I have faith that they will find us if we do that work.
Right.
If we do that work.
Okay, let's get to some questions. And a couple of you have been correcting me, and both of us, Pride isn't canceled, right? Pride Month stands. There will be a lot of Pride events. It is just that, the Pride parade and the Pride gathering that happens in March, that's what's canceled. And also, that's not even canceled. It's just being done in a different way.
All year. Pride is all year.
Pride is all year. Pride's every day, but also, and I apologize, y'all. I think it's just hitting me kind of hard, and I'm really sad about it because I just fucking love Pride. Brian Kent, if smaller crowds under 500 are permitted to gather by that time, would dance events surrounding Pride thrown by local promoters be able to continue at local venues?
So unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to speak to that. That would be something that those promoters and of course whoever does their permitting would be able to do. I can only say that a big goal for us is to support as many of those smaller events that does happen as we can. So there's a lot of folks, and I'm not going to name all the different events, that have already reached out to us saying that they're thinking about if they will be able to still have those smaller parties, and we want to support them.
There are a lot of folks who are sending in their memories of Pride. We have the president of PFLAG, Kendra Horst, who's talking about their memories of Pride. Dana Hopkins has sent us some messages. Sarah Toogood, who's with the Pride Cheerleading Association, is interested in creating virtual Pride events. Nick Kovaleski he's the race director for the Front Runners, understands the decision to not postpone, as sad as it is. The NorCal 40 contingent is represented right now. Bruce Boudet, there are a bunch of people that have kind of indicated their own memories and thoughts. There's some long questions. When was the decision to cancel this year's parade made? John Ferranini from VAR asks.
So that's a conversation that we've been having all for the last few weeks, but the final decision was made actually within the last week. So we've exhausted as many ideas, as many thoughts. We went through every scenario we could for as long as we could, until we came to the decision that this was the best one.
Got it. Chris wants to know if SF Pride will be involved in Interpride's virtual World Pride. And I think that's a record for the amount of times the word pride has been used in one question. 3 prides.
Yes, actually, so a member of our staff, we always have one member of our staff who represents us with Interpride, our staff member, Marsha Levine, who's also one of the founder members of Interpride or something such as that. We've been having conversations with Pride, and we definitely will be a part of the virtual Interpride and the global Pride. So yes.
Vicky has an idea. Vicky's been working for Pride as a photographer for the last 4 years. Go, Vicky. They know that a lot. I know there are 10 others that have been doing it for longer. Maybe you could do a virtual photo gallery showcasing its history. I just kind of thank you for that idea, Vicky. I guess that just brings me to a question. If folks have ideas for things to do, is Pride collecting those ideas, or is it kind of like go do you, and Pride's just going to have a couple of its own? What's the intake for ideas around virtual Pride idea stuff?
First off, thank you, Vicky. We love Vicky at San Francisco Pride. That's number one. Number two, there is actually an amazing photo exhibit by the GLBT Society or Historical Society that was actually scheduled to be an in-person exhibit at City Hall, and it's now going to be going virtual. So I apologize, I don't have the date that that's going live. They just recently started making the pivot over to digital, but that will be becoming a digital installation. If people who have ideas, I'm scared because I don't want the whole inbox to be flooded. But definitely, I mean, you can always email us at board@sfpride.org, and we'll be able to forward any inquiries or any ideas to the appropriate individual, whether it's myself for the actual board, whether it's to our staff, so that we can actually start talking about what this actually looks like. So definitely board@sfpride.org. You can email us, and we'd be happy to take your feedback.
So that's board@sfpride.org. Got it.
Yes.
Raymond, does this mean that Pink Triangle on Saturday morning is canceled? What about Trans March on Friday and Dyke March on Saturday?
I don't know what's going to happen with Pink Triangle. We are actually in conversations with Patrick Carney, who does run Pink Triangle, and we sincerely hope. Like I said, Pink Triangle is definitely one of those things, along with the official flag raising, that we want to try and do in a smaller capacity if we can. So the hope is that, say, we're able to have events for, I don't know, at least 50 people. We will be able to get maybe the board and a couple of the folks. It does take a whole group of people to put that Pink Triangle up, and have that either broadcasted on KPIX or on our socials. Some of those other things, I know that Transmarch, they're in similar conversations. I have not had any contact with some of the other organizations, but I know that definitely one of their organizers on our board as well. So, you know, we don't run each other's events, but we work closely in partnership. Mm-hmm. So we hope that it, like I said, again, anything that can happen under the shelter in place such as it is at that time will still go on.
Okay, we have time for just a couple more questions. Stephen Leader wants to know how we can find out about virtual Pride when it happens. So when do you plan on releasing, like, what that set of programming is going to look like? So it's April now. Yeah, when are you thinking about that?
So you visit our website for updates as they roll them out. Also definitely follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, because I mean, you can't really have a virtual Pride if you're not activating your Instagram. So follow us on all our socials, but definitely, especially the website, you'll start to see those rolling out as we are starting to get them together.
Got it. Raymond, this conversation will be posted on YouTube with this tomorrow, probably. John, how about collecting film and video from each of the previous Pride celebrations and creating a video history, perhaps 2 hours in length, highlights from each year? Yeah, so there are a bunch of ideas in this vein of, like, you know, utilizing the 50th year to kind of take people back to former years. Do you feel like that's something that's probably in the works?
Well, this was Generations of Hope. This was, you know, so that was actually what was already in the idea tank. So really what it is at this point is actually just pivoting it towards the virtual. I want to thank our partners over at KPIX, who we've already started having these conversations about those pictorials and videos and such things. So just because I haven't specifically named them here, there are a lot of things that we are actually working on. You'll start to see those be rolled out.
Okay.
No.
You know what it is? San Francisco is a city of resilience, right? I mean, that's what we're famous for. We're a city that bounces back, and it's gonna get, and look, you know, we were able to flatten the curve, and that's what we should be celebrating right now. Not celebrating.
I mean, it's sad that the physical celebration won't happen, but yes, as you said, look at what we as a community have done. You know, I thank definitely our mayor for her leadership, because like I said, we've been working on this since early March, and that's because our mayor started talking about it in early March before other people did. Right. So, you know, we grieve the loss, but we're in a better position than some other folks that we can at least still have the things that we're going to have and be able to do those things. And I'm going to take those wins where we can here in this pandemic, because it's so hard for so many people. I mean, we're looking under, you know, blue skies and beautiful hot day. So it's awesome.
Well, it looks like it's actually nighttime where you are.
Well, no, it's just this virtual background that
Oh,
I have with
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
the
Um,
city lit up in rainbows.
yeah. Hey, Carolyn, thank you so much for your leadership. I'm just going to
Oh,
quickly plug Manny's. So if
okay.
you look here above me, there's a link. It's joinit.org/o/Manny's. It's also in your Q&A answer box. For the folks who've tuned in, my small business is closed and shut, and we are not making money. And we would like to be open, and we want to get back and real. In order to do that, we do need your help. We need folks to make one-time donations and even better, become sponsors. It's $36 a month. Listen, it's going to be a while before spaces like my own, like Manny's, are going to be able to operate at full capacity. So it's really important that folks become sponsors if you are financially able. You can go to joinit.org/o/Manny's to become a sponsor for $36 a month. Also, I want to thank my amazing team, Jupiter, Sam, and Ram, for working this call. Sam was the operator for this call, and I thank Sam very much. I want to take a second and just thank all the generations of queer people who tuned into this, who are probably feeling a lot as well. And like what Brant said at the end, the Pride Festival might be canceled, but we can never cancel Pride. We should always be proud. We should be prouder this year than ever, right? Because we
Yeah,
have an event to do it, then we just got to sparkle it every freaking day. Just glitter everywhere. Uh,
absolutely. And
and
Manny, if I said one other thing,
yeah,
I want to definitely thank my board. This has been a very, very hard decision for the board. You know, as hard as it was to wait and kind of go through all the scenarios as community, it was harder for us as the board. And I also want to thank our executive director. You know, this is my first year as the president. This is Fred Lopez's first year as the executive director. And, you know, we are learning on a curve, boy.
yeah.
So thank you, Fred.
Thanks to all them, and thanks to you, finally, of course, Carolyn, for your wise and your wise and capable leadership during this tough time. So we're here for you. We're sending you strength, encouragement. Thank you for looking out for our public health. And I'm going to see you before that, but I'm definitely going to see you in Pride 2021 on some stage.
As absolutely.
Doing something.
Well, are we gonna dance, Manny? Are we gonna dance?
We're going to dance.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be dancing. Yes. Yes. Hold on. Bye.
Bye.